All right, chapter 3, we're going to talk about harmony. And harmony is when you're combining different sounds. It's a simultaneous combination of different pitches. So if we talked about a melody being the horizontal aspect, the harmony is the vertical aspect. So what notes are occurring at the same time to create something called chords? And that aspect of harmony is central to most Western styles. So if you picture, for instance, a singer with a guitar, he's just singing one melody versus the group pentatonics. You've got 4, 5, 6 singers, all each singing different parts. They're singing different notes that blend together. They're creating harmony. There are a lot of rules, which are beyond the scope of this class, that are applied to what kind of notes go together and in what order they can sound together. They call them chords. Chords are where 3 or more notes sound together at the same time, and they have certain progression rules that have been developed over the years by music theorists and music education people. And so that's beyond the scope of this course. But these progressions are so familiar to our ears as we have listened to music for so long that we know when something sounds right and when it sounds wrong. So it gives the music a sense of order. All chords are built from scales. If you've seen The Sound of Music and they're on the stairs, they're singing Do a Deer. That is actually the solfege scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Sometimes they use a number system, numbering the notes from 1 to 8. And that is a scale. It's a collection of pitches that's arranged in ascending or descending order, up or down. When you look at, for instance, the middle C on the piano, if you're familiar with that, or on a keyboard, if you just pushed every white step, every white note from C all the way up until you got to the one that looks just like it, but it's an octave higher, that's a scale. An octave means 8 notes. The oct, just like an octopus. Octave, 8 notes. So if you go from C all the way up on a keyboard to the next C, that's an octave. Here's an example of harmony. Simple song, Camptown Races. This is an old song written by early American composer named Stephen Foster. You see the melody on the top staff, and you see the harmony, those chords, in the bottom staff. So the melody, you'll just see one note at a time, the horizontal plane. Looking down vertically, you see several notes happening at the same time. So they've combined do, mi, and so for a 3 notes or a chord. They've taken notes out of the scale to create a chord. You may also call a 3-note chord a triad. You can start on any note of the scale, and to build a triad, it's just every other note of the scale stacked on top of each other, just like it looked for this one. Those are the most types of chords that are most common types of chords that are in Western music, and most of the time we put those melodies with those triads to create a nice harmonization sound. A couple other keywords to understand: tonic. The tonic note of a scale is the first note of the scale, or as we refer to the solfege scale, do. It's home base. It's home ground to all the other notes. Every other note relates to do. Tonality is the music that is organized around the tonic. So if the tonic is home base, all the other notes have a certain relationship to them. The scale that you choose determines the tonality. We have major and minor as the most common ones now in Western music. Early music, before before Baroque, we used different systems, but the major and minor systems are the most common systems of scales that we use now. Consonance and dissonance. Dissonance is when something sounds off. There's a tension, discord within the notes. It's a combination of notes that sounds unstable. It doesn't sound like it's complete or has an ending of resolution, so to speak. There's a musical tension, conflict, and so that's called dissonance. Dissonance is important because it gives the drive, the energy in music to the consonants. Consonance, on the other hand, is more peaceful, more relaxing, a sense of completion, fulfillment. So the combination of dissonance and consonance is very important. That dissonant chord leads to a consonant chord, and that gives that, we talked about in the other chapter, gives a sense of completion. A cadence is usually a place where you're going to have a dissonant and then a consonant chord. Harmony was introduced not until the year 900. So it was a long time before we thought to combine different notes at the same time. And some of the earliest cultures, European folk music, Asian cultures, etc., harmony introduced itself by just having a drone sound. So you almost just like pressed one note and held it for a long time, a sustained note, while the upper note, the melody, moved around. So that was the very beginning of harmony. Thank you.